faint memory, but Eloise is here this morning. Eloise decided, yes, that's very good. Eloise decided, a couple of months ago to just have one surgery after another. I tried to counsel her not to do that, but she said, let's just take care of it all. So she's going to now live forever. So, but we're glad you're here. Where's your crybaby sissy ha-ha? He's at home? Yeah, okay. He's taking a break. Tell him we missed him, all right? All right, you got your Bibles? Go to Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2. Now, first thing, well, after introducing you to our immortal Eloise, thanks to everybody that did everything they had to do to get things done last week, for Dennis for preaching, and all the folks that helped put all that together. I would like a report on all the things that he said about me, because I've listened to the recording and there's some blank spots. Somebody went back over it and blotted some things out. I need to know that. All right. Yeah, good. That's right. Let's leave it alone. Philippians chapter 2. You got it? Now we're going to be, once we get everybody settled, we're going to be in chapter 2, Philippians 2, verse 19. So hold on to there. We'll let these folks get settled. Now, I'm going to give you an overview, and then we're going to breathe a bit. We're going to give you a chance to breathe out, and then we'll study. 3 times in the very first chapter of Philippians, Paul uses the word happens. Whatever happens, no matter what happens, that kind of thing. And Paul's whole life, if you look back in the book of Acts, Paul's whole life was about whatever happens, right? I mean, he's on his way to Damascus to knock off a few Christians, and something happened. He met the Lord, he changed his life, he became one of those Christians. And when he became one of those Christians, he went all the way with it, man. And he's teaching people everywhere he goes, he's teaching people about Jesus. And he gets stoned one place and left for dead. And they drug him outside the city, thought he was done. He kept on preaching. And then they called him back on the carpet where the big church wigs had to say to him about what he was teaching and if he was teaching the truth. And he just kept on preaching. And then in chapter 16, he wants to go to Asia. The Lord says no. Ends up getting a vision about coming to Greece, Macedonia, and he goes right to find the fellows that he was going to teach. Everywhere he goes, those kind of things happen. He goes to Philippi, casts a demon out of a girl trying to be nice to her, and what happens? He gets beaten and thrown in jail. In jail, there's an earthquake. I don't know if it could get worse than that. He's singing, praying, and that earthquake and that trauma gave him a chance to meet the jailer, and he taught and baptized that jailer. I'm telling you, everywhere Paul went, something happened. They put him in jail and send him to Rome. His boat gets in a storm and it sinks. He's floating out in the ocean for 3 days and nights. Finally gets rescued, walks up on the beach, starts collecting firewood to build a fire, and a poisonous snake bites him. I'm telling you, whatever could happen to Paul happened to Paul. But what did he do? He just kept on living Christ. Now, that's why he wrote this letter. He wrote this letter to some people that he knew, kind of like I know some of you. We've had a chance to sit down together. We've opened our Bibles. We've studied God's Word. We've made decisions about following Jesus together. That's the kind of church this was for Paul. And he wrote this letter to say to them, whatever happens to me, whatever happens to you, chapter 1, I want you to keep praying. And now, does anybody remember, and if this is your first time listening to this, you don't have, but these guys, they heard it, so they're supposed to remember it. Tell me one thing about the prayer he wants us to keep praying. Tell me one thing about the prayer that he wants, and if you have to peek, I'll let you peek. He wants us to pray with confidence that he who began a good work in us will complete it. Give me one more, just for fun. Pray with joy. And joy, he says, I pray with joy every time I think about you. And we have lots of fun teasing, poking fun at each other. That's good. But the truth is, that is in us, isn't it? That joy is in us. When we get a chance to be together, when we miss each other for a while, when Eloise walks back in here, we have joy. And so we ought to pray with that joy. Now, does that sound like us? Sometimes. Yeah, on church days it sounds like us, right? But the truth is, he's wanting these people, and the Lord's wanting us to learn that whatever happens, when one of those whatever happens things happens, you remember to pray with joy. But also, the rest of chapter 1 says you live Christ. Whatever happens, you just keep living Christ. You may not be able to fix anything. You may not be able to change anything, but you can live Christ. Chapter 2, the first part, Dennis taught it. You remember? Remember Dennis, all right? So you remember what he taught. Do you tell me one thing? He said, whatever happens, what do? You think. And you think like Jesus thinks. Boy, now, honest. When we have things and I need you to be honest. I know we've got some visitors. We might as well show who we really are, so let's just be honest about it. When something disrupts you, when something disrupts your schedule, when something changes your plans, and it can be dramatic or traumatic, your reaction, honest reaction. Now don't cuss, we got children, so your reaction. Stuck in the mud. Your reaction. Why me? Why me? Your reaction. I've done something wrong as God tried to get my attention. Never going to get it done. Yes. Last call. When your life gets disrupted, when something happens that you didn't plan on it happening, and it didn't happen like you thought it should have happened, and it didn't happen when you thought God should have made it happen, your reaction. Of course it happened to me. Why would he do this to me? And again? Are you telling me again? And I just don't understand. I heard it in my office. Heard it. Within the last 30 days, heard it from one of us. Yes, and I'm not looking at anybody, okay? So I'm not telling your name. But I had it happen in my office from one of us sitting there and said, I just don't understand why God has to make life so hard. And when I think that, not just hear it, when I think it myself, when I get feeling like that, I look back at what Paul went through and I think, I've never had anything to worry about, right? Nobody ever drugged me outside of the city, left me for dead. I had some folks wish they could, but they didn't. Never been in jail, never got beaten like that. Never was shipwrecked, all kinds of things. Paul is trying to teach them, trying to teach us, that when those things happen, you keep praying, you keep living Christ, and you keep thinking. You think like Jesus thinks. Now, last part of chapter 2 is where we are. But before we do that, now I want you to exercise. I want you to breathe. A moment, dramatic or traumatic, a moment where God disrupted your life. And I'm not talking about it irritated you. I'm talking about it upended your life. Tell me something that took place so we know we're in this thing together. one time, one moment, one thing that disrupted you and so shifted your life, you thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to turn. I don't know how I'm going to overcome this. I don't know what's going to happen. A death in the family.
Heart issues.
A heart attack.
What's happening with a daughter?
One of your children is going through something. And honest, it's easier to handle the stuff that you're going through than it is to have to handle it with what your kids are going through, right? What's the thing that disrupted your life, turned it upside down?
A divorce.
Yeah. You ever get served those papers when you weren't expecting those papers? Yes. When you sit down with the doctor and the doctor says, oh, you need surgery for this. And oh, by the way, while we were getting ready for your surgery for this, we found out that you also need this. And all those plans, all those things you were going to do, all those things that you always did, come to a screeching halt. So what do you do? What do you do? Keep praying. Keep living Jesus. And you keep thinking, and you think like Jesus. Put that in your head. Now, chapter 2. Verse 19 through 30 is what, if you had the teachers I had, which they would say, now this is one of the personal greeting sections of Paul's epistles. He will do this through most of his epistles, and there are people sitting in this room right now that have never heard the word epistles and don't know what an epistle is. I learned it early. You have apostles and you have apostles' wives. That's the epistles, right? No, that's not right. That's not right. That's not. These letters, some people call them epistles. I did that just so I could tell you that joke I heard. All right. But I had teachers, men, great faith, great teachers, who would get to this section of Philippians and they would skip over it, because it was one of those personal greetings of Paul, as if it was not God-breathed. They would spend hours, days, and I had one teacher, I think, still teaching it, on the doctrine and the theology of Philippians 2, Jesus being made being by God and emptying himself and being in nature as God. He didn't hold it, counted against God to empty himself and to take the form of a servant. Dennis taught you all about that last week. They focused on that, and then we would skip this last part. No. You don't skip it. Don't skip it. Don't slide past it. Don't slide past it. Embrace it. Watch what he says. I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon. Real quick, those of you who've been going to Bible class all your life, you know about Timothy. You remember the town? I told you about Paul going into that town, preaching, getting stoned, drug outside the city, left for dead, and he went back in and finished his sermon. There was a lady named Eunice that lived there with her mother, Lois, and they had a boy, son and a grandson, named Timothy. The daddy was a Greek. He was a pagan, had no interest in the Lord apparently, but Eunice and Lois turned to Jesus, and Timothy became a disciple. Well, the next time he goes through that town, he picks up Timothy and says, you're going to come with me. And he says, I hope to send Timothy to you soon, that I may be cheered when I receive news about you. Look at verse 20, and you ought to underline it, circle it, remember it. I have no one else like him who takes a genuine interest in your welfare. What word jumped out at you? What word jumped out at you? Genuine interest. When Timothy thinks about the folks at Philippi, when Timothy thinks about that lady named Lydia and that fella, the jailer, what do we know he thinks about for them? He has a genuine interest in them. Keep reading. He has a genuine interest in your welfare, for everyone looks out for his own interest, not those of Jesus Christ. So what Paul just tell us about Timothy? Draw the conclusion. What Paul tell us about Timothy? You tell me so you know I'm not making it up. He thinks like Jesus thinks. Isn't that what Jesus told him? He's not like everybody else. He's more like Jesus than he is other people. He is like me, Paul says, like me, who will have a genuine interest for you. He's going to think like Jesus thinks, just like Paul taught him, right? And it dawns on me. Dawns on me. How do you get through those whatever happens times? How do you get through those?
Pray.
You pray. You live. You think. But how else? You find a brother. You find a son. You find a worker. We'll get there. But you find a Timothy. Right? So first thing, and you're going to hear me say it so often you're going to get tired of hearing it. But you look for people in your life to be that Timothy. You're not looking for people who are just going to agree with you. You're not just looking for people who are going to flatter you. You're not looking for people that are going to, they're going to let you do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it because they don't want you to be upset with them. No, that's not the kind of friend you're looking for. That's not the kind of person you want at your side. If you're going to live in this whatever happens life, what are you looking for? You're looking for somebody who thinks like Jesus. You get the pattern? You look for somebody who, like Jesus, who prays. You're going to look for somebody who thinks like Jesus and lives for Jesus. That's the kind of person. You look for a Timothy. Paul says, keep reading, he has proved himself because as a son, hang on, proved himself? What's the significance of the phrase, proved himself? He's legitimate. Proved himself. He's been tested. Proved himself. Trustworthy. Proved himself. Last call. I'm sorry?
Caring.
He is a caring man, and he's not one of those that just goes, oh, that's too bad. I really wish we could do something to help. No, if he has your interest in mind, he's going to do what he can to help take care of what you need, right? And Timothy is not a talker, he's a doer. How many times on this side of town have we had folks who've come by out of curiosity or out of, I don't know, come by to see us and they say, man, I want to help here. I want to get involved here. And I say, sick them. Let's go get them. And then they'll say, well, what's my position? I'm still looking for somebody who has a position. Was Timothy looking for a position? I'd like to be called, somebody asked me the other day, said, what would you like to be called? And I started thinking about all the things that y'all have called me. I would like to be called anything but what y'all have called me. Yeah. Do you want to be called evangelist? Do you want to be called pastor? Do you want to be called minister? How about just call me Rex? But don't call me at night. No, just kidding. The point is, they were looking for a position. Timothy wasn't looking for a position. Timothy was not walking around with Paul going, Paul, you're going to make me an evangelist? Paul, you're going to make me a pastor? Paul, you're going to make me a minister? Paul, you're going to make... No. What was he following Paul around to do? Whatever was needed. He was going to learn from Paul to become like Paul, like Jesus, so he could genuinely care for other people and help fix them. He proved himself as a son with his father. He served me in the work of the gospel. I had 3 brothers. All 4 of us worked on the farm, and when we got up old enough to move out of the hoe handle stage, and it was never fast enough. When you moved out of the hoe handle stage, my dad, you had more time. You had a different kind of relationship with my dad because he would put you on a tractor that would cost thousands of dollars, and he'd turn you loose with equipment that was more than you were going to make in your lifetime, and he'd set you to plowing. He'd tell you what to do, where to go, what to do, how long to do it, and what time you need to get back having done it. And what does a son do? Hey, Dad just drove off. I think I'll just take me a nap under this tree. Is that what a son does? That son would not have lasted long in our house, right? But if you're a son and you've got a father who needs you to do something to help take care of the family, take care of the pigs, the cows, the chickens, whatever, what do? You do what your father taught you to do. Timothy proved himself. Now, one more time. If I'm going to make it through these, whatever happens times, I need to find some Timothys in my life. I need to have some Timothys in my life. I need some people in my life that are not just going to agree with me. They're not just going to flatter me. They're not just going to do what I say. No, they are going to do what needs to be done to take care of the things that have to be done. Now, flip that over. Flip that over. We could spend the whole time talking about who that Timothy is in your life. I hope, what Paul says here, I hope in the Lord Jesus you've got some people like that. I hope you've got a Timothy in your life. I hope you've got somebody that is a doer, somebody who has a genuine interest in the same things you want to accomplish. I hope you've got somebody in your life like Timothy that proved himself to make sure that he's got your back. He's going to do whatever needs to be done to get done what needs to be done. But flip it over. And this is the lesson for me. I want to be that Timothy, don't you? I want to be that to somebody. I don't want a position. I don't want a title. I don't want a cruise. I want to be that kind of partner. I want to be that kind of son. We look for people who can be a Timothy to us, yes. But we look to be a Timothy to others. Right? Jimmy.
You and I talked not too long ago about how old I was getting and how old you were getting, and the church needs Timothys. And we prayed about that. We talked about it. We had some Timothys show up. Mm-hmm. In this group that don't have to be told what to do. They're just trying to live like Jesus. And we are so blessed in this congregation now to have those kind of people. And my challenge to everyone else is let's watch what they're doing. Let's step up and be Timothys to the people in this congregation and do what Jesus would do.
Aren't you hear that? Make sure we underline it. Jimmy said we talked about it, we prayed about it, and God raised up some Timothys in this body, in this place. And it's not people that kind of they're not looking for a position. They're not looking for a paycheck. They're not looking for any kind of notoriety. They just get up and get stuff done. They just do what needs to be done. Yeah. And we need to honor them. Well, that's the next point. We need to honor them. We need those people to know. The people in your life that are a Timothy, they need to know how much you appreciate them, how much you care about them, how much they mean to you. Yes. But we also need to be like them. We also need to be like them and become that Timothy for someone else. All right, keep reading. Look at verse 25. But I think it's necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the fellow's name. That's how my teachers pronounced it. If you know a better way, keep it to yourself, because this is how I learned it, all right? I'm not going to get this old tongue to change, all right? But I always wanted one of my grandkids to be named Epaphroditus. They'd have been 42 before they could spell it. But okay, Epaphroditus. Now look at these things. 3 things. There's more than that, but look at the 3 things he says immediately about Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus is my brother. Epaphroditus is my fellow worker. And Epaphroditus is my fellow soldier. Now I'm going to say it in case I forget to say it later. I hope I won't, and I'll repeat it until it drives you crazy. But I need men like Epaphroditus in my life to help me go through these whatever happens times, right? You need some Epaphroditus folks. But Epaphroditus. All right, you need some of those in your life, right? But also what you want to do is you want to be an Epaphroditus to somebody else's life. You want to be a brother. Now, talked about those brothers. And if you had brothers, you know what I'm talking about. Was there ever any fussing, fighting, fuming going on among the brothers? Now, my 3 brothers were bad at that. I spent most of my time praying and fasting, so I was not involved in that. You know, I would irritate them because I would glow in the dark at night and they couldn't sleep, so they had trouble with me that way. You shouldn't lie in church. But brothers, we fought all the time. And my mother threatened us, you boys don't fight in the house. And it was funny, she didn't tell us not to fight. She said, just don't fight in the house. Yeah, take it outside. My mom always said that. My dad would say, if one of the littler ones was crying because one of the bigger ones was beating them, he would say, quit your crying and go get you a stick. So take up for yourself and catch him when he's not looking and lay one on him, you know. So we had a healthy and energetic relationship. But if somebody messed with us at school, who was the first to step up? Well, I remember being on the bus, and I don't know what happened. I may have done something I shouldn't have done. I have no memory of it. I'm telling you the truth. May have done something I wasn't supposed to. I was in the 1st grade. I was innocent. I didn't know those kind of things. But I was riding with, and I liked the bus driver. He was my friend, and we talked and laughed, and I told him jokes all the way home. I'm sure he loved having somebody right behind him to talk nonstop like I would do. We pulled up at my house, out there in the country, all 4 of us boys about to bail out of the bus. He stopped, opened the door, and as I was getting out, I picked up my bag, and I was walking out of the bus, and I waved like this. I said, bye. His name was Mr. Morris. If he was kin to you, I don't like him anymore. All right, I waved down, he said, bye, Mr. Morris. And he reached over and got my hand, dragged me back into the bus, and proceeded to spank me. I may have deserved it. Don't know that I did. Don't remember anything about it. I just know it hurt. And of course, I get off the bus, and I'm crying. And I don't remember anything said about it. I don't know that I told anybody. That's just, if you act bad, you get beat. So I didn't say anything. The next day, we're riding home. I've forgiven Mr. Morris. We're good buddies. I'm telling him some stories. Same kind of deal. We pull up at the house. He stops the bus, opens the door. I get out. I wave bye, Mr. Morris, and I see him reach for me. Ooh. I look at it, but I'm not that slow. Man, I saw him, and I kind of jumped to get out of the bus. I hit the steps, kind of slid out. He turns the bus off and leans out of his chair to reach for me, to drag me back in the bus and lay hands on me again. And my big brother, 6th grade, bigger teeth than he's got a head. I mean, big brother, skinny big brother, who's carrying his trombone. He is learning to play the trombone. I can still remember. He stepped in front of Mr. Morris. Now, this is skinny big brother, steps in front of Mr. Morris and says, don't touch him again. Now, I may have deserved the spanking, but the lesson I learned from my big brother, Bo, has lived with me for all these years. You need a brother. When you're going through whatever happens stuff, you need a brother. You need somebody who'll say, don't hit him again. No, you're not touching him again. You need a brother that'll stand up for you. Epaphroditus was that kind of brother for Paul. And aren't you glad Paul had somebody like that in his life? But he wasn't just a brother. Keep going. He was a fellow worker. I've been in church long enough, and you have too. I've been in church long enough. What is the phrase? And it always is so fun to say, but it is so shamefully true. You have all these meetings, you have all these sessions, all these discussions, all these ideas, and after all that was said and done, more was said than done. Been that way in church as long as I've been alive. You look at Epaphroditus, he was not a talker. He was a walker. He got up and did things. He was a fellow worker. What's Paul doing? Whatever Paul's doing, Epaphroditus is doing. He was a fellow worker. Wasn't about, well, Paul had his job and Epaphroditus had, maybe, but they were both working, right? Keep reading. And he was a fellow soldier. Significance of him using the word soldier this time. Significance of using the word soldier. It's a fighter. Yeah. He was a fighter. He was ready to fight for Paul. He is ready to fight for the gospel. He is ready to fight. We have developed in us, I'm afraid, us church folks, we've been going to church long enough, we've become so churchified that we've kind of a surrender kind of thing. Oh, they want us to close down for a few weeks, a few months. Okay, we'll do what we're told. No. God help us, not ever again. We need some fighters. We need some fighters. You going through some whatever stuff, whatever happens stuff, you need somebody in your life that's going to be a fighter. Somebody in your life that is going to stand up and take on the enemy. Not just, I'll pray for you. Yes, I'm going to pray for you. I hope things go better for you. I really want you to know that I'm sending you my encouraging thoughts. I'm so glad. I love encouraging thoughts. Send all of them you can, but I'd like it for you to show up and fight. Epaphroditus was a brother, was a fellow worker, and he was a fellow soldier. So here's the point. You know you're going to go through that stuff. Paul's life is filled with whatever happens. The truth is, if I just let us take the time and I pushed us a bit, we could fill this room, fill this day, fill this week, fill this lifetime with things that have happened. Right? Something happened when I was a kid. Something happened while I was in college. Something happened while I was driving home from work. Something happened. This happened, that happened. Those kind of things are going to happen. When whatever happens, you need a Timothy in your life, and you need an Epaphroditus in your life. Now flip it over. Flip it over. If you need that Timothy in your life, if you need that Epaphroditus in your life, do you think somebody else might need the same? So for me, this lesson made me think, I need to man up. I need to become a Timothy. I need to be the kind of guy that thinks about you first and your genuine interests. And I need to be that guy that fights for you, stands up for you, works beside you. We all live in a world that's filled with whatever happens. We need some Timothys and we need some Epaphroditus. It's time for me to be a Timothy and Epaphroditus. Keep reading. We're done. We're done. I want you to notice how Paul met Epaphroditus. This brother who was a fellow soldier, we're in verse 25. This brother who was a fellow soldier, fellow worker and a fellow soldier, is also your messenger whom you sent to take care of my needs. The little old church in Philippi, when Paul left there, we'll learn it in a couple of weeks, they decided right then to send stuff, send funds, send people to help him. And they sent Epaphroditus to be their gift to him. I got to finish, so I want you to watch. He was sick, almost died. God had mercy on him. Not only on him, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore, I'm all the more eager to send him, so that you'll see him again, and you may be glad, and I'll have less anxiety. Welcome him with great joy when he comes back. When he comes home, welcome him with great joy, and honor men like him, because he almost died for the work of Christ, risking his life to make up for the help you could not give me. Now I got to tie the knot and get this over with, but you see his point? Men that are like Timothy, men that are like Epaphroditus, those men deserve to be recognized. Those men deserve to be honored. Those men, we should be praying that God grant them mercy, because we don't want to lose them, right? So I want to find some Timothys in my life. I want to find some Epaphroditus in my life, and I want to treat them like they deserve to be treated. But if I flip it over, I need to be that Timothy. I need to be that Epaphroditus. And I need to be what the church would send to help you. The church would send me. The church would send us to help others. Last thought. This church sent Epaphroditus to Paul, which tells you they were his Timothy. They were his Epaphroditus. And Paul told them in chapter 1, I'd like to go home to be with the Lord. I'd like to go home to be with the Lord. But I guess I'll stay to help you. Paul was ready to be their Timothy, their Epaphroditus. So this morning, while we remember Jesus, while we prepare our hearts to remember Jesus, let this be the examination. First of all, who are the Timothys in my life? Who are the Epaphroditus in my life that I need to honor, pray for, thank? And then who are the people I need to take a stand for? Go ahead, fellas. And if you're visiting today, there's 2 cups in every little hole. Take both cups. Bottom cup will have the bread, which is the body of Jesus. Top cup will have the fruit of the vine, the blood of Jesus. Take both cups, okay? Now, we all need those Timothys. We all need those Epaphroditus. So let's examine ourselves. Let's examine ourselves that we will be that kind of man, that kind of brother, that kind of servant, that kind of fellow worker, that kind of fellow soldier for somebody. Somebody in this room or somebody the Lord leads us to, wherever, whenever. All right. Let's sing this first song while we prepare our minds.